Yay!
Yeah, all right, we are live. The Last Mark Standing podcast on iTunes and SoundCloud.com with your favorite tag team, Damian Salty G and the Marky Smark Trina.
Hi, guys.
What's up, everybody? As you can see, we lived through NXT, through SummerSlam, through Raw to tell about it. We're not going to divulge too much. All I'm going to say is NXT is the best show I've been to in my life. And that's counting pay-per-views, that's counting Raws, that's even counting indie shows. Best show, NXT TakeOver, I have ever been to in my life. Broadway, anywhere.
Yeah. I think Andrew
when they say
feels the
bang
same
for
way.
buck, Andrew Zarian from Batman feels the same way. Bang for buck, nothing compares to it. So I'm happy. My weekend was fine there.
It was an amazing experience.
Yeah. I mean, you were there. What'd you think?
Oh, it's fantastic. I mean, the crowd was just super into it. And I mean, some of my best wrestling experiences this year have been at NXT. Whether it's like a big pay-per-view like this, because I went to Dallas and Dallas was awesome also. And I've been to like some of their smaller house shows. And that was amazing. I mean, the NXT crowd for what you see at Full Sail is great in person live.
Yeah, and I got that vibe from Brooklyn also. I mean, the energy in the room was just magnetic the whole way around. Like you could get drunk on that energy. That's how great it was.
I wonder, like the interesting thing is I wonder if it was like this, and this is maybe weird, but was it like this before Nakamura?
That's a great question.
Because I kind of feel like each time that I've gone to an NXT show, it's always been like anticipation for Nakamura.
You know what? I never thought about that until you just mentioned it.
Yeah, because that was the
Shinsuke.
Well, that was the feeling in Dallas. Because like in Dallas, like you could tell, like every match was awesome, but it's like we were just waiting for the music to hit. And then I think the NXT that I went to before Dallas, didn't have the same feeling. It was a house show, but didn't have that same feeling. But the last two, like, quote unquote pay-per-views that I've been to for NXT, you could just feel it. You knew like Nakamura was coming. You knew, and this time, like with the violinist, I mean, it's insane. So
that was beautiful.
I mean, I don't know. I don't want to like overstep my boundaries here and be like, it's all Nakamura, but it's a big part of it.
No, you've actually brought up a very interesting question. And to be quite honest, I never thought about it until you mentioned it. How much of the now draw that NXT is due to Shinsuke Nakamura? I mean, yeah, we wanted to see Bayley. We wanted to see Asuka. But no one was singing Bayley's theme song. Nobody was singing Asuka's theme song. They were singing Shinsuke Nakamura's theme song.
It's almost like back like with The Undertaker. Like it's like an entrance that you want to be a part of.
Agreed.
So it's like every other part of the show felt different than his entrance. I mean, the show is great, but his entrance was just the most like amazing thing to experience that with everybody and like the violinist and, waiting for him to do like the pose. Like, for me, that's like the best thing is waiting for him to do the pose.
Yeah, I think that was the biggest anticipation when he starts to do his convulsing and
right, exactly.
Then he just does the pose and
the crowd
went ape shit.
I feel like this is like what like kids like in the 60s probably went through with Elvis. Maybe I'm not getting the decade right, but No.
Like the Beatles and Elvis, you feel that magnetic thing where it's just like, oh my God,
it's like electricity. Right. And because, like I didn't expect, because it was the first time I'd met you and Andrew in person. I mean, we've known each other for a while now, but I didn't expect you guys to like just fully like mark out like little kids.
Oh yeah, we did.
Yeah, both of you did. It was insane. Like we were all like filming the entrance. We were all singing the song. Like we were all like invested like into it, and you guys are both like grown men in their 30s, like, but who have successful careers, like successful lives. And you both lost yourselves in Shinsuke Nakamura's entrance, which I love. I love it so much.
I am not ashamed to admit that is the absolute truth. I implore anyone to watch a Nakamura entrance live, even if it's a house show, and not be enthralled by what he brings to the table.
Right. And it's indescribable in person. Exactly. You really have to just do it yourself.
And the thing about that is I started comparing, now that you're telling me this, I'm starting to compare other wrestlers that have this kind of connection with the crowd just by entering a room. Mm-hmm. You know who has that? Who? AJ Styles.
That's true. Because the music is so good too, you know, like, I mean, would you say even in a small way, Bobby Roode now with that song?
Okay. Let me just say this much.
I'm sorry. I had Damian missed the Bobby Roode entrance because I had to buy chocolate covered gummy bears.
Yeah.
So
we
can't even
I can't even talk about it. I saw it. Yeah. I saw on the network. I thought it was great, him descending from the heavens on his podium. Yeah. Because you could sing his theme song also. Yeah, I get that. Maybe now it's a trend where wrestling now is more magnetic personalities, more so than gimmicks, where you're just completely enthralled with these people. Because I can tell you right now, I knew nothing I told you about AJ Styles until New Japan. Mm-hmm. But when he came over here, I'm like, yo, who the hell? And, you know, the whole throwing the hood off, the pose, you know, the phenomenal pose. It's like, you know what?
Ooh, I kind of got chills.
People in. Yeah. He can draw people in without even having to open his mouth.
Yeah.
Just like Bobby Roode. The song's in the background, and he's just doing this.
With Bobby Roode, it's totally the song, because like before the song and the entrance, I didn't really think too much of him. Like, you know, she'd shown up like a couple times at NXT, and I was like, all right, like this is just like a bigger Austin Aries or whatever, like, you know. But then once he added the song, and then he has the robe, and it just like became a thing. And then like these things happen once in a lifetime. It's lightning in a bottle. And so it's like, you're not going to have big personalities like this all the time. So when you do, you might as well, you know, cash in on them, and you treat them with respect and hope that like they stick around for a while.
Yeah. And I think that's the whole thing with Nakamura, is that people are going to stick around as long as he's at NXT. Because honestly, I don't know if he'd be any good in the WWE. And by that, I don't mean he's not going to be good in the ring. Mm-hmm. I don't think the casual fan will like him.
Right.
And you know how I know that?
Yeah.
Can I start it now?
Yes, please go. Well, let me just say, hang on, before you start, because I know this is going to go. I agree with you, because I think the casual fan or the fan who watches the main roster will not appreciate the greatness that is Shinsuke Nakamura.
Agreed. And so, that was, Go ahead, finish.
Yeah, I mean it's a shame. It's a shame because obviously like the main roster's like that's the big time, you know, that's what everybody considers the big time. But you know, if they were serious about making NXT its own brand, then like I would like to see Nakamura stay in NXT where he is fully appreciated.
Yeah, and I think that is the best place for him to be.
Yeah, because it would kill me, like break my heart, if he debuted on like Raw or something like that, and it's just like silence. Mm-hmm. You know, like Finn, I felt like got an appropriate welcome. In the beginning of the show, like when he debuted, I wasn't happy with it, but by the end of Raw, this was like a Finn Balor Raw all the way, and so I was happy with it. Like Bayley, for example, I was a little disappointed with her debut.
Good. That's a great segue for me because I was there.
There we go.
I was there.
Yeah.
I was at Barclays Center for Raw. And I can tell you right now, the people in my section, they suck. Okay? And they sucked because they did not pop. They did not care. Bayley came out, and I looked around. All I saw was people just sitting on their hands.
Like, God.
Yeah. I mean, she got popped some other places in the arena. But from where I was sitting in section 120, nobody gave a shit except for me.
Oh.
I was sitting next to a dude at the beginning of the broadcast who told me that he thought Finn Balor wasn't a real wrestler. And I said, well, did you watch his stuff on NXT? He goes, that's not real WWE.
Oh, my God. Who are these people?
It was two dudes sitting next to me, and they were bro dudes. Like, and you know exactly what I mean by bro dudes. Like,
well, yeah, I'm pretty much a bro. So
no, not like that. I mean,
so they're idiots,
lunkheads.
Yeah,
Straight up lunkheads. Like, oh yeah, because he's not 275 pounds of rippling muscle, he can't be a wrestler. No, fuck you.
right.
Right.
So they're like Vince guys.
Yeah, they're Vince guys. So essentially, I tell the dude, I'm like, listen, did you not watch his stuff in New Japan or Noah or anything like that? Mm-hmm. He said, what's that?
Or like, did you say, like, do you know what the Bullet Club is?
Yeah, I asked, do you know what the Bullet Club is? He was like, oh, isn't that thing with AJ Styles and the club does now? And I'm like, you know who started it, right? Who? Finn Balor. Really?
This is what I'm talking about. This is how we have to educate people. Like, we can't have people going around like ignorant.
And that's the thing. And I kept having to educate people around me because some people didn't know who Bayley was.
Oh, yeah.
They did not know who Bayley was. They had this, who's that? Or I heard one woman say she's not Sasha. I'm like, no shit, that's Bayley. You know?
This is very eye-opening.
No. It was eye-opening for me sitting there. But what really pissed me off wasn't even the apathy, okay? Mm-hmm. It was the fact that our fellow wrestling fans, air quotes, wrestling fans, let douchemongers start these stupid-ass chants, okay? You know, the you can't wrestle chant. I'm going to say it right now. I'm going to put my flagpole on the ground. Roman Reigns can wrestle. You just don't like him for whatever reason. I brought this up to you in a text message. I said, how much of it does it have to do with his racial background? But I'm not jumping on that yet. All I know is that when people say you can't wrestle, is it because they really can't wrestle or they don't like the way the person wrestles? Because I got attacked today by some Nikki Bella fans on Twitter because I said she's not my cup of tea. I said she's like the female Lex Luger. She's power-based, has a great look, uses strength-based moves, but I like her better when she uses her elbow strikes, and they looks like they hurt. Like, I like stiff workers. And people are yelling. I got into a big-time argument with some Nikki Bella fans talking about I calling out Nikki Bella fans. I don't like Nikki Bella. I don't have my facts right. She's an inspiration. I said, whoa. I'm talking about in-ring only. In the ring, she is a model turned wrestler, not a wrestler first. I have a problem. I always had a problem with those models that turn into wrestler types. So to be
a lot of them. I mean, there aren't very many up until this generation of divas. I feel like most of them were. I mean, like, well, for a time before like Alundra Blaze and then, you know, everyone before her. But I think like for a good like 2 decades, they were all just like models who trained some wrestling.
Right. And then I have nothing but respect for all those women who actually wanted to wrestle after they got in. You know, the Laylas, the Michelle McCools. You know, I love you. I have a soft spot for Mickie James. I always will. I don't know what it is. Maybe just because she didn't fit the prototypical skinny body type. I don't know. I love Awesome Kong. I love Gail Kim. I told you this. But for me to be attacked because I don't like a certain ring style.
Right.
That's annoying.
Yeah.
It's like the people that say Roman can't wrestle. Yes, he can. He just doesn't wrestle the way you like. For me, he's grown on me. I've told you before, like, I'm starting to get on board with Roman as this silent, badass, you know, assassin, just like I like Rusev as a bootleg Brock Lesnar. But what I don't like is when you're at an event and you got, especially NXT douchebag, because I tweeted about this, and you can read the tweets if you want to take the time to read them at Dare to be Damian. But we had NXT douche guy who wore an NXT title, had his hat backwards like Tony Romo on the sidelines. Okay. You know exactly what I'm talking about.
That's a little dig. That's a little dig to me.
Yeah. And he had a sign that said NXT is better. And every, like, let's say 10 minutes or so, he kept screaming, NXT is better. NXT is better. You know, and he kept trying to get these douchey chants off the ground. Oh, and what I didn't like what WWE did is when Bayley was in the ring after her win against Dana Brooke, they cut to a Roman promo on the Titantron, and then Roman gets booed because you cut out Bayley in the ring. Like, it went dark. So it's like she's in the middle.
They didn't give her like the full.
No, they didn't give her the full treatment. And I'm thinking, really? This is your new female cash cow superstar, and you cut her saluting the crowd just to do a promo. I didn't care if it was Roman. It could have been anybody. It could have been Breezango. I wouldn't have cared. I would have been booing that too.
Mm-hmm.
What really pisses me off is us real wrestling fans, quote unquote, real wrestling fans who allow these chanters and these, what did you call them when we were talking about it Monday night?
I thought it was like the IWC come to life, like
all the negative aspects
like
of the IWC. Yeah.
Right. It's like the trolls came out of their mom's basements to go to Raw and just like troll as an audience.
Right. And it was like troll. That's all we had. I dealt with the whole night where, and
are you referencing the troll guy, or are you just saying that?
I'm referencing. Okay, well, perfect. I didn't know there was a troll guy, but now I know. So knowing is half the battle.
Go look it up later. It's really funny.
Okay, but that's how I felt. I'm thinking, there is nothing but trolls here who, no matter how good the product is, they're gonna hate on it. And you know what? That brings up a better question: is it possible that people just want to go to WWE events now, just to be the in crowd, or just to chant? Because NXT doesn't have that. Like maybe at Full Sail you have that because they tend to be a little smarky. But did you see it in Brooklyn? No. Not NXT TakeOver. Nobody was chanting to be dicks. They loved all the in-ring action, from No Way Jose to Almas to, these are people that people are kind of apathetic to. Billy Kay.
Ty Dillinger.
Don't put Ty Dillinger in the same apathetic stratosphere, okay? You and I both know Ty Dillinger is a 10. Right?
Yes, exactly.
Just for the audience sake, I've been pushing Ty Dillinger for months now. And now all of a sudden, everyone's like, oh, yeah, Ty Dillinger's awesome. No, screw that. Right when he split from Jason Jordan, they both started to do really well. And I'm proud of Jason Jordan. I'm proud of Ty Dillinger for sticking with it. And eventually Ty's going to come up because he's really fluid in the ring. He can be nasty with his moveset, and he can play to a crowd.
He's worked really hard.
He did. Because if you
really hard
his own stuff,
And if you want to see and call Damian out on this, go listen to our old episodes. He's been on the Ty Dillinger train for a really long time.
Dude, since our first episode, I've been talking and singing the praises of Ty Dillinger. I mean,
I feel like I tweeted something that like it's like the crowd devolved or like disintegrated or degenerated as each like event went on, so like Saturday everything was like awesome, and then it's like during SummerSlam it was okay, especially during the Universal Belt situation, and then like Monday it was just like these are like the sloppy seconds, the leftovers, the like, it's like at a bar, like it's the 2 a.m. people like that are left, and NXT was like the peak of hotness at like maybe 12:30.
Is that what it was? That we were drunk watching NXT?
Right, exactly. I mean, like this is where all the hot people show up at NXT, and then and then the so-so people are at SummerSlam, and then it's just like now I make this so bad because I was gonna be this.
Yeah,
it was gonna be me.
Right.
So I can only imagine, because I don't give an F, and like I will yell at people.
Yeah.
And I'll fight people. I really wanted to fight people this weekend, and I didn't.
Oh my God! So. After everything in NXT, you want to fight everybody. I didn't understand that. Like, why does Tarina want to fight everybody?
Yeah. I mean, well, no, I just generally like want to fight people. So it's not just NXT. Like wrestling stuff. Like, because it's just like I'm on guard because I'm a girl at a wrestling venue, and
you are.
And like what it's been like for me, especially with like WrestleMania. Yeah. Like I don't get any respect at these things. So it's like, not only will I demand respect, I will fight you for respect.
Literally, she will beat the respect out of you.
Yeah. I mean, I think your overarching point is valid. We can't let this go on. Let me go back with some of your points. I think in terms of Roman Reigns, I think they say you can't wrestle because to them it's the meanest thing that you could say to a wrestler. But I also do think that they're doing it because they're just assholes. But I think the people that are like, because there are smart fans out there who really just genuinely don't like him. And so their way of expressing that is you can't wrestle, because that's the worst thing you could say to somebody who pursues professional wrestling seriously. So that's like a totally different problem. You know, like those are just like people who, you know, it's not their cup of tea. And it's just like the Nikki Bella fans that were yelling at you. You know what I mean? Like it's different grades of bad fan. You know, like you have casual fan who's like WWE mark only, doesn't recognize NXT, doesn't recognize what they're seeing as a whole. And then you have the smart fan who is smart enough to recognize and maybe does watch NXT, watches indie wrestling, and is still trying to put themselves over. I mean, either way, like both sets of fans, regardless of their degree of shittiness, is trying to hijack the show and make the show about them and not about the performers in the ring.
But it's not about y'all. Nobody cares about y'all. Like, stop. There is no need for you guys to be screaming NXT's better. You can't wrestle. Look, I come from the old ECW adage of if you fuck up, we will scream you fucked up, because it was funny when I was like 15, 16. But even now, when you see these 45-year-old grown men, you know, 40-year-olds just screaming, you can't wrestle, neither can you.
Right, exactly.
And there was a woman behind me that was yelling at those people because she was saying, neither can you, when they screamed out, you can't wrestle, or Roman sucks. And she would say, he's better than you. And that's the truth. He's better than me. He's better than Trina. He's better than that woman. He's better than everybody. So you know what? Shut the fuck up.
I mean, you know, like the way I would approach it, if I had taken the ticket instead of you, because I've not had this opportunity yet, you know, like I've only had like opportunities where it's like 3 or 4 guys. I haven't had like an entire section try and hijack the show. In my head, this is how it would go. Like I would stand up and be like, can you please stop chanting because you're ruining the show for everybody else. If you were a true fan of wrestling, you would respect the fact that there are people here who really want to enjoy the show. And that's how I'd start. And then if it just got out of hand, then of course, F-bombs and all sorts of horrible stuff would come out of my mouth. But that's my first line of defense.
Well, then that's the thing that brings up an even better question for me. Why is it that the nice fans like me are allowing these douchemongers to be the majority and not the minority? Is it because it's a big event, or, you know, because Andrew talked about this, about the Evolve event, that there were douches there, and were they the majority or the minority? I have a feeling they were the minority, whereas at Raw, they were the majority.
Right. It's a weird dynamic because, I mean, we've talked about this before. As wrestling fans, we share a lot of common experiences in our childhoods. Like I said, I've said this before in other episodes, you know, wrestling fans typically aren't the homecoming queen or the quarterback of the football team or the most popular kid in school. You know, like we grew up marginalized, and I think it's difficult to suddenly switch now that we're adults into being, you know, that bully, that alpha. You know, it's funny because you texted me about the dream that you had, and it's like, that's totally me. It's like I think I'm naturally a bully. I'm naturally like a heel. And I'm gonna say that. And it's like, and I think the average person, like the average nice person at a show is not. You know what I mean? Like they would rather be unhappy about it than confront someone about it.
See, under normal circumstances, I would love to confront somebody about that. I love confrontation when it's warranted. But when you have like, okay, let me break a little bit of this down. And I'm I want to say 3 or 4 rows in front of me.
Hang on, did you feel like because you were one person that you wouldn't be able to take on a crowd?
No. I just want to. No. What I'm gonna try to explain it this way. 4 rows in front of me was Sam Roberts.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. 3 rows in front of him was Adam from What Culture.
Oh.
Like they were all on my same rows, just in front of me.
You were with all the big names.
Apparently, they didn't even care. They were just just letting it affect them, and not affect them. And I'm thinking, why is it bothering me? But it's not bothering these pillars of, you know, radio, wrestling broadcasting. You know.
Right.
Why is it not bothering these guys? So
I would have
maybe
tweeted Sam Roberts and been like, are you going to sit here and just take this?
Well, I didn't think about it like that because I'm trying to enjoy the show like, a normal fan. But
I'm always in heel Trina mode.
I know. And that's what really started me on heel salty Damian G week, because I'm so sick and tired of these jackanapes that want to hijack shows that give us a bad name. Me, wrestling fans like you and I and Andrew and a handful of others, a bad name. It's like when we talked about the Tim Kill article when he marginalized all of us wrestling fans of this generation, when in reality, we're not that kind of way.
Yeah.
But are we the minority?
Like, are there fewer of us than there are of these jackasses?
Yeah.
I think so. I think so. Shit. I mean, I think that's the reality that you have to come up with, because, like, I think if there were more of us, there wouldn't be as many assholes chanting about a stupid belt during Seth Rollins and Finn Balor. I mean, you know what I mean? Like,
let's be honest, the belt was horrendous. Like you and I tweeted about, you said the Shawn Michaels thing. I said they borrowed Shinsuke Nakamura's jacket. Great. But the match itself was great. See, if I was there with you, we wouldn't have been bitching about the belt the whole match. We would have saved it for after the match. Like, that belt was ugly, but the match was amazing.
Right.
So,
I mean, this is why I wanted you to go off on this, because
and I'm still gonna go off. Continue.
Yeah, because the thing is like I don't know what the answer is, and you texted me and we went back and forth and you just mentioned Sam Roberts and Adam from What Culture. It's like, what's the solution? Like, okay, maybe there are only a few of us and a hell of a lot more stupid idiots than us. Then, like, what do we do? Like, what's the effective way of combating this?
Okay, so let's put this out to the audience. So if you're listening and watching on YouTube, tweet the show at The Last Mark Podcast, or myself or Trina at Dare to Be Damien, at The Marquise Mark. Let us know what you think about how we can be the majority now, us normalized wrestling fans that don't get taken advantage of and overswept by these chanters, these hijackers that want to just make the show about them. Let us know, tweet us and let us know your responses. But for me personally, it's sort of like, this is part of the reason why I don't go to sporting events anymore, especially football, because people get liquored up at football games, tailgating, and then they're just assholes the whole show. So
it's true.
What do we do?
This is true.
Do we do a breathalyzer? Do we not let people come in and give them does security have to get stricter and say, hey, calm yourself down? You got one warning? Because I remember distinctly, I went to a Knicks game last year, New York Knicks game, and this dude, he was hyped. I don't know if he was on something tweaking or what, but he was hyped, like Mojo Rawley hyped. And the game hadn't even started yet.
Yeah.
Okay. He was like
he's been drinking since 6 a.m.
Yeah, he was Ultimate Warrior shaking the banister, and the game hadn't started. And security comes over and says, dude, chill out, like, relax. So he goes, all right. So the game starts, and he's screaming at the opening tip. He's like, F you, you suck. And these weren't like really pertinent, beautiful seats. These were, let's say, a real, second level. So we weren't in the greatest of seats, nor were we in the cheap seats. But again, he was screaming at the top of his lungs, cursing out people. There's children around. Security comes over. Hey, dude, one more warning. That's it. The first quarter wasn't even over. He got kicked out. So do we do that in wrestling events? Do we have tighter security that kicks people out? Because Barclays is just as big of an arena as Madison Square Garden.
Yeah.
So
as you were talking about that, an idea popped into my head that, and I don't know if this is possible, if this is something that WWE could do, but I mean, they do this in other sports. I know for football, specifically, make the ringside seats like special, like seats only for like network subscribers, or like, like people have to reach like a certain level to even have access to those seats. Because I think a lot of other promotions do that. It's like you either like belong to their mailing list, or like you can't get into that
seating
area, that section. Yeah. And I know football stadiums do the same thing. Like, to get access to certain seats, you have to pay a fee just to even be added to the pool to be like to possibly get the seats in the first place. It's something ridiculous. Like I think at the 49ers stadium, like you pay $10,000 just to be added into the pool of season ticket holders.
Jeez.
And so that's on top of your season ticket holding price. And so it's like, maybe they need to like install something where it's like, these prime seats are only like available to people who like I said, like either have the network or they subscribe to something that shows that you're a true fan. You know what I mean? Like maybe there's gold level membership of the network.
I would love that.
And then and then I would pay that. And then that gives you access to ringside seats.
Well, I wouldn't care. I definitely would pay.
I would too. That's what I'm saying. So because then you're not going to get a guy who's like NXT is not real wrestling. You know what I mean? Because I highly doubt that asshole's watching NXT on the network or anything on the network. I'm not saying that this is going to totally weed out everybody, but I think if you make it feel special, and this is a way for them to make more money for sure, make it feel special, then you're like guaranteeing only like the, mostly the good fans will be in the right seats.
Right. And to be fair, you and I at NXT, we were amongst really good fans. I mean, we got to sit really close, thanks to Andrew,
right,
toward the latter half of the show. But even the seats we started with were great seats. Everybody was having a good time. Right. Nobody was being a dick. Right. Everybody was respectful of the performers and the wrestlers. Yeah. Think about it like this. You know how I've often made the wrestling connection to that in medieval times? Okay. You don't jump up in medieval times and say, fuck you, Black Knight, for killing the guy you're rooting for.
Yeah.
like who does that? It's like the people that yell during movies at the screen the whole time. Then what the hell you went to the movies for? If you want to be a critic, do a podcast from your house. Don't go to the movie and scream like a crazy person. I'm sorry. I'm really sad about our fellow humans, especially our fellow wrestling fan humans, who are falling into the trap that everyone says about pro wrestling fans. That we're Neanderthals, that, like you said, we live in our mom's basement, that we don't, it's not real sports, so we're just a bunch of like knuckleheads or whatever the case may be.
Right.
You 20% of you asshole fans, I thought it was more 80-20 good fans to asshole fans. But now I feel like it's more of a 60-40.
Right. We're getting fans. Overpowered. Right. And it doesn't just apply to wrestling. I think what this says about society in general and our culture in general now is I've said this before on the podcast, we live in a Kardashian society where you can make yourself famous. A lot of people are self-made. And so I think that's the idea. Like the IWC comes out and goes to Raw, and it's all everything now is about putting yourself over. You know what I mean? Like it's about getting yourself on TV, like being part of something that maybe you weren't privy to like 10 years ago. Because, like I said, like we didn't grow up the popular kids. And so it's like, I think you have people falling into a trap. Well, it's like, okay, 60% or 40% of the audience is doing this asshole chant. Like, this is my chance to be like the cool person or whatever. And so like, I think us as the good fans, the smart fans, the loyal fans, need to find ways to drown that out and show that the cool way is to be respectful. It sucks. Like, it sounds really lame the way that I'm saying it, but it's like, like, how do we make putting yourselves over just be so repugnant that like people don't even want to do it?
Love that word, by the way. That's actually one of my favorite words of all time. Repugnant.
Yeah, I mean, and that's part of the reason that I even started this in the first place. Because I knew my power as a female wrestling fan, and I knew my power as an attractive female wrestling fan.
Wait, hold on. You're admitting you have powers?
Yes, I'm admitting I have powers. I mean, it's just, that's the thing. When I started doing this, I noticed that people were listening to me, whether because I was a female or I was pretty or whatever, or both. I felt like my voice was louder than other people's. And so I also felt like my opinions about wrestling were more positive than the general feelings about wrestling. And so I started this to see if I could like make a difference, you know, and make people love wrestling the way that I love wrestling.
Look at you, want to make a difference like Fatu. Look at you.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the funny thing is probably the only person who knows this is probably Gino at Cage Side Seats, because he's the only one that I was like, I think I have a chance to like do something here. You know, like I have a chance to change people's minds. If not the non-wrestling fan, even just bring back casual fans who haven't watched in a while. Because like my original plan was to show non-wrestling fans that wrestling fans are normal people, you know, like, so I was going to use the fact that I'm like a pretty female, like with, you know, my shit together. I don't live in my parents' basement, and just show like my coworkers and my friends that people who watch wrestling are super awesome and not like whatever stereotype you think we are.
Well, we are awesome. That's beside the point, but I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
It's one of those situations where you're using this platform and you're admitting to having this platform and being able to use it to your advantage in a way, but you're not using it in the way people would assume that you're using it. You're using it to get a positive message out. So if anything, you're using your celebrity for good as opposed to evil. You know?
Yeah, right. Exactly. Evil.
Well, no, I mean, I tweeted this yesterday. I said, should I start going to war with people who just get things handed to them, you know, because they're attractive or for whatever reason? And I think you know why I'm saying that, but it was during one of my like fever-induced dreams or whatever, where we went to wrestling school. But should I go to war with these people? And I'm thinking, why? Like, it's a way of life. Attractive people are gonna get over. It's just like in WWE. Right. Roman's getting over because, let's face it, he's the Vince guy, right? Because he has the look. That's how Roman was getting pushed by management. Big Cass is included in this Fatal 4-Way because he fits the look. So what's the point of me rallying for the voice of the voiceless, a la CM Punk, when in reality the machine is still going to run the way it's been running, right? So do I would argue, quiet, or do I continue to fight the fight?
No, you keep continuing to fight the fight, because I would argue that you are not part of the disenfranchised. I mean, maybe we are, as our podcast is, you know, only has a certain amount of viewers, but I think we're both working our ways up to being influential people in the wrestling internet audience. And so I challenged other people that are at a higher level than us, you know, the Matt Men, the Andrew Zarians, the New Age Insiders, the Rants with Ants, you know, like the Cage Side Seats, to like speak up and be like, look, stop being assholes. You know, Gino does it every once in a while on Cage Side Live. He'll complain about the fans, but I think the quote unquote cool people in this arena need to stand up and be like, this is wrong. Like, you guys are losers. Stop doing this. You know, I mean, maybe losers is not the best way to put it, but you know, in a less heel Trina way.
You know, you saying this is making me realize that we did have some douches at NXT. You know who the douches against? Izzy.
Yeah,
because I distinctly remember Gino talking about this and Andrew talking about this. People were telling Izzy, "I hate you, F you." It's a 10-year-old girl.
Yeah. Right.
Shut up.
I mean, guys, you don't need to be a wrestling fan to know that a grown man saying "fuck you, Izzy" is inappropriate. So, you know, like, anytime that you see a grown man cursing at a child for no reason, set them straight. It doesn't have to be Izzy. It can be any child. Just FYI. You know, like, if you see something, say something.
Yeah, if y'all could complain about who's the starting quarterback of your team, you should be able to complain about the douchebags that, you know, ruin the shows for you. Right. You don't like people that talk during movies, so why should you like to go to wrestling events with people who want to make the show about them? Oh, I shouted down a CM Punk chant.
Yeah.
I shouted that down because somebody was trying to do that, and I'm like, he's gone. Get over it. Move on. He's not coming back.
I think part of the time, because I do sometimes get comp tickets from my friend at WWE, I'm not always with the masses. Like, I'm usually like over by the cameramen, or I'm surrounded more by kids. Like, I never get the seats that, like, I don't know. Maybe this is the universe, this is God or whatever higher power you believe in. I haven't been put amongst a bunch of douchebags yet. You know, like maybe this is the universe like saying like, please don't fight everybody. But you know, it's mostly family and friends. And I have to tell you, as someone who sits in the family and friends section a lot, there's so much love for wrestling in those sections. I went to SmackDown in, I think, outside of Chicago. And there was just rows and rows of people who were super into it. This entire like family, grandmother, grandpa, like mother, father, like a whole, like 3 generations were sitting next to me. And the grandmother was the most into it of the whole family. So it's like, it's tough, you know, like I'm not always with the masses. Maybe that's lucky for them because I'm ready to fight somebody. But, you know, it's a crapshoot. It sucks. Like when you go to a live event, like you can't dictate where you're going to sit. And so that's why I think if WWE can install something where, you know, like only certain types of fans have access to certain seats, I think you're going to have a better product and a better experience for everybody there.
What do you say to the people that make it seem like this idea is classism?
Well, because the assholes are already paying like a ton of money to get there. You know what I mean? Like the tickets are expensive anyway. So if you like install something where it's like a gold membership, then like lower the actual price of the seats. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know if they would do that. This is, I'm asking a lot of WWE, but like say floor seats are typically what, like $89 or $80, something like that, depending on the venue, whatever the show is. Lower that down to 60, you know, or something like that for gold members, because gold members already pay, you know, whatever, like $200 a year on top of that. You know, like just perks, like extra perks, like ways to reward the loyal WWE fan. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think, like I said, a lot of other franchises and organizations, sports organizations do that.
See, it's the first I'm hearing about that. Like, I know they have it for baseball, but I didn't know they had it for other sports.
I think they do. Like, I think like Cowboys Stadium definitely has it. I know. I'm sorry, but Jerry Jones is one of the first to do this sort of thing. But he has like the Legends seating area where the seats are nicer, better views. Obviously, they're just better seats, and you have to be part of a certain club, like to be there. And yes, I get it. The classism issue is there, but I think if you make this like, I don't know, because the thing is, if somebody buys like a season pass or something to WWE, they're not going to use all their stuff. And so it's like, give some away, like give WWE could do giveaways for people. Like even if like they're not gold members, so say they don't like pay $250 extra to be a gold member. If you prove some way in some other way that you're a loyal, good fan, then like, this is how WWE can reward you by like giving away tickets in that section.
Yeah, I feel like that, like a discount is easier to do than just siphoning it off to a certain sector of people, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I know. I get it. Because you're definitely going to price out a certain income level for sure. You know, and we know this from our fan base. Our fan base like covers the spectrum of income levels and races and genders and ages and things like that. And so it's tough, you know, like, so my first thing is don't take any shit from people and like fight them, you know? Yeah. Or like, you know, like we have to find a way to, I think like use our voices, you know, like as the internet wrestling elite. Again, like I'm not saying you and I are in that realm, but you know, we know a lot of people who are, and use that platform to be like, we need to stop this, because a lot of the people that we know that are in internet wrestling, they have kids. Yeah. You know, and then that's what we have to focus on, is that like, is this the type of wrestling that we want our kids to be watching? You know, like, is this the type of crowd watching you know, like disrespectful, unappreciative. You know, think about the kids.
Yeah. No, you see, you said a good word for me, unappreciative. And that's the sense I got from a lot of people during Monday Night Raw, where I just felt that nobody showed appreciation for, dude, we are in Brooklyn, New York at Monday Night Raw. You know how many people are dying to go to Monday Night Raw?
Oh, yeah.
And you waste your time on your cell phone. I saw some woman tweeted somebody was on an iPad. You know, you waste your ticket to scream obscenities at other people. Really? That's what you went for? Not to appreciate what the gift you were given of this great sports / entertainment that I've been watching since I was 5 years old? Come on, man. I'm so tired. I am so tired of the people at sporting events that go to puff their chest out and beat their chest and be obnoxious and rude. Yo, shut up, man. Nobody really cares. Nobody cares about what I'm saying right now. So imagine what you're saying. You're making yourself feel better. Good for you.
Right.
You know,
I mean, I really think we should just
sucks. Good for you.
Yeah, we should just call these people out. I mean, you know, Andrew brought it up today. It's like that the guy who was bothering Cody Rhodes at Evolve.
So annoying.
You know, so it's just like Cody shouldn't have to be the one to turn around. I mean, I'm glad that he did. Like, I'm so grateful that he's the one who turned around and was like, dude, back off.
Like I'm talking here. Like, you know.
Yeah, but I would like to see some other fans also step up in Cody's defense, you know, because Cody's just trying to do his job. Yeah, I don't know. Let's police each other, guys. Like,
you know what? That might be the best idea. Yeah, that might be the best idea to do, is just to police one another.
Yeah.
You know, be good humans, man. I always say, just be a good human.
Right.
Like, come on. I mean, like, you really want to go and ruin it for everybody else?
Right. I mean, just imagine, you know, like if you were a kid and somebody was doing that to your first live WWE experience. You know, like all of us adult fans remember, no matter how shitty or like tiny, insignificant our first live show was, we all remember that, and we still remember the anticipation and how amazing it was. Now imagine like 80% of that stadium drowning out your favorite person, saying he can't wrestle or he sucks.
Agreed.
In unison and things like that. It's just, you know, like it's a harsh reality. These kids are gonna learn the hard way eventually. Let's not make it be at wrestling events.
Good point. If I would have had that, I would have been a little bit more calmer. But unfortunately, I didn't have that on Monday. Right. All I had to deal with was NXT dude. And not for nothing, I know Andrew has a rule against belt guy. Right. And I have a couple of friends who got belts.
Yeah.
But come on, man. No, don't be obnoxious and be belt guy. That's like 2 strikes against you right then and there.
Yeah.
And
well,
then
I mean, you're sullying the belt.
Yeah, and then your chant guy, and then sign guy. Like you just scream, I don't have sex. You just scream, I have no friends.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh. I mean, I don't know. Like the guy on Raw that really like pissed me off was the Harambe guy.
Oh, the Harambe dude. Oh my God.
And see, and you know what's interesting is somebody pointed out to me that Sam Roberts liked that guy.
Really?
Right.
Huh.
So it's like someone took a screenshot where Sam Roberts was like, shout out to Harambe guy, and then immediately after I was like, fuck that Harambe guy. So it's like, again, let's call out to the internet wrestling elite and like Sam Roberts, like, don't take that shit. Like,
yeah, don't make it okay.
Right. You know, like don't be like, shout out to Harambe guy. Harambe guy is an asshole, and he was blocking the view of like everybody behind him to put himself over with his stupid sign that doesn't mean anything.
Right. Who was the other one?
Yeah.
Oh, the Adderall sign guy. He was funny. He had an Adderall sign up, but he only had it up maybe once or twice.
Yeah.
You know, but both times I saw it up, it was funny, and it didn't even have anything to do with Roman. It was just up.
Yeah.
You know, so I'm like, all right, that's funny because that's what people were getting busted for. And if you listen to last week's episode,
right,
we were talking about the Adderall busts and things of that nature. So,
you know, ha. Right. And you know what's interesting as you're saying that is that I know I'm sure there are a bunch of wrestling sites that covered Adderall Guy. If there was a good picture of it, I'm sure like a bunch of sites covered it. So if that's the case, which wrestling sites do cover when there is something clever in the audience, let's cover the assholes and like call them out on it. You know what I mean? Like all these wrestling websites, Cage Side Seats, everybody, like, let's have a bad fan of the week and like call people out on like who's being an asshole this week and ruining the experience for everybody.
Oh, good. That brings up something I wanted to institute. I have a thing at one of my other podcasts where I call 2 minutes of shut the fuck up. Yeah. Like someone goes in the penalty box for 2 minutes just because they needed to shut the fuck up. Yeah. So I do another podcast with my friend Ricky called We Found Your Hentai. And it's basically at the end of every show, we nominate someone that just needs to shut the F up for 2 minutes because they've been obnoxious during the week. That we know personally. So, so if I'm going to steal from that episode from We Found Your Hentai.
Now I'm afraid it's going to be me.
No, it's not you. 2 minutes to shut the fuck up goes to NXT belt guy.
Yeah.
At WWE Raw. 2 minutes for you. Shut the fuck up.
Yeah. Yes, please.
I'm done with this stuff.
Shut the fuck up or I will fight you the next time I see you.
Shut the fuck up or Trina's going to fight you.
Yeah. I don't care. No one's going to believe that that you didn't hit me. So it's like, I will hit you and then pretend like you slapped me. I don't have any shame.
Yeah, we can't do that.
I don't have any shame.
We don't want false imprisonment.
I don't know. Some of these guys, some of these really annoying people could probably use a night in jail.
Like the Mountie.
Yeah, like just to see how they could handle it. Because these people.
Are we talking about maximum
security jail? I don't care. Just like isolation, just like a basement. I don't know. Lock them down there because you know that there are people that like you meet them and the first thing that you think is this person needs an ass kicking.
True.
So it's
without
like
question,
I think let's give people ass kickings when they need them.
So you're pretty much voting for ass whoopings in public.
I am not advocating violence. I'm not advocating violence, but tongue lashings at least. So if some guy is screaming "fuck you, Izzy" in the bathroom, even if you're not a man, you can't go in that men's bathroom. Scream into that bathroom, "Fuck you, dude." It's just a child. I wish I was there because I probably would have walked into the men's bathroom and then and then made fun of his dick and things like that. So
have you done that before?
I almost followed Razor Ramon into the bathroom, remember? But that was not mockery. That was just fangirling.
That was fangirling. Okay.
Yeah, because he was being really friendly to the fans and he was like, "Hey guys, like I'll sign autographs and blah blah blah." And like I was just walking and talking to him and I almost like followed him into the bathroom.
You make a habit of fangirling at the weirdest times, by the way. Can you share what you did this weekend?
Elevators and things like that and hotel lobbies and I think my general point is aside from the advocating violence and fighting.
Wait, no. Before you even go into that, I want you to actually talk about the elevator incident.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So I went to the Holiday Inn. I think it's the Holiday Inn. I'm wrong. If I'm wrong, it could be the Days Inn. But across from my hotel was the hotel where all the wrestlers were staying. And so I could see from my window, from my room, the crowd of people just waiting for wrestlers to come out. So Sunday morning, like I get up and I'm like, let me go check this out and see what's going on. And I go into the crowd and it's like people who were only concerned about getting autographs. You know what I mean? Like they didn't seem necessarily like fans who valued respecting their favorite wrestlers. You know what I mean? Like they were all about like telling each other whose autographs they've gotten and blah, blah, who they've met and blah, 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 and all this different stuff. And I was like, okay, this is a little weird. And again, recognizing that I was an attractive female, I just walked into the hotel and I had breakfast. I had breakfast across from the Authors of Pain, which I didn't say anything to them, which everyone tells me is worse because it's more creepy that I just sat there and ate breakfast and looked at them the whole time. But I didn't want to bother them while they were eating. I feel like that's like A-Rod like yells at people when you bother him when he's eating.
Oh God.
So I had breakfast, watched The Authors of Pain, and CN was there also, and they all had burgers, by the way, because they deserved it. They put on a good performance the night before, and they all deserve burgers. And then, I feel like I'm revealing secrets here. I've been a sports fan for a really long time, like for a very long time, and I was that kid waiting after games to get autographs and things like that. And so, knowing this, I was like, let me just get on the elevator and like see what's going on. Like maybe like if I go to like the top floor, whatever, see who I can see. And so I just like rode the elevator once or twice, and it paid off because I was in with like a fan, and then Dean Ambrose got in. And so the fan was like, oh, let me get a picture. And so they got a picture. And I asked Dean if I could get a picture, but instead of taking the picture, I started selling our podcast because we did the episode specifically about Dean. And so the picture that I have with Dean is me mid-sentence talking about our podcast. And again,
while he may or may not be looking down your shirt.
Yeah, who knows? I don't care. As long as he listens to the podcast, that's all I care about. And me being a mark, and thinking that Dean Ambrose is a reasonable person after we stuck up for him for an entire episode. After he left the elevator, I noticed that he didn't leave right away. So I was like, you know what? I'm just going to try one more time and just like really sell the podcast, because I think he's the type of person that wouldn't be annoyed by that. And so I took the chance and I told him about the podcast. I told him that we discussed the socioeconomics of his character, Dean Ambrose. And it seemed to pique his interest. And he said, well, now I have to listen to it, and so I wasn't rude. But I think maybe the security saw me spazzing out a little bit, you guys know. And so started pulling me away. And so I got pulled away by security, but that was my Dean Ambrose encounter for the weekend. And you can add that to the Sasha Banks's mom encounter as well. Oh yeah.
Does the audience know about your Sasha Banks encounter?
Probably not. So when I was checking into my hotel right before NXT, there was a woman at the desk also checking in, and she was like whispering to the people at the hotel that she's the champion's mom. And I'm like, oh, okay. And then, and she said something about like wrestling, and I was like, yeah, we're all here for wrestling and blah, blah, blah. Either way, I creeped my way in and was like, yeah, I'm going to NXT tonight. Yeah. And she was like, are there still tickets? And I was like, yeah, of course. I have friends who just picked up tickets a couple hours ago, like on StubHub. Long story short, I end up buying Sasha Banks's mom 3 tickets on my StubHub account for her to go see. She wanted to see Bayley, and she asked Sasha too late. That is why. I know people are like, why didn't Sasha Banks's mom have tickets to NXT? The way that it works for comp tickets, and I know this for a fact because I get comp tickets, you have a deadline to ask for comp tickets. And if you are past that deadline, the chances of you getting those tickets are 0. So it doesn't matter if there are a ton of seats available. They only do the comp tickets up until a certain time. So if Sasha Banks's mom, even if it's Sasha Banks's mom, if it's 6 p.m. before NXT, she's not going to get a ticket. She's going to have to buy one off like, StubHub or like whatever. Because it happens all the time. Like if Raw is in town or something like that, I have to usually let my friend know the night before. And then at the very latest, like usually before 8 a.m. of that day. So that's the reason I think she didn't have tickets, and she didn't want to bother Sasha. It was really adorable. She is the sweetest woman, absolutely the sweetest woman. I think she kissed me on the forehead. I mean, that's how like motherly and maternal she is.
Kissed you on the forehead?
Yeah, I think so. I think so. There were a lot of like weird kisses this weekend.
Oh, because you figured out that New Yorkers actually kiss on the cheek, apparently?
Yeah, exactly. So I got a lot of like weird kisses this weekend, and I got her tickets, and I was super excited for her, and she was super excited, and that was so this is before I even got to NXT. That was my first wrestling encounter, was at the hotel with Sasha Banks' mom.
So basically you had a great interaction weekend with WWE personnel.
And that's what I'm saying. So if you guys ever go to events with me, stick with me, and I'll do all the creep work, and you can reap all the benefits.
Isn't that what Andrew and I and intern Deacon said the same thing? We're like, we're going to hang out with you so we don't get yelled at.
Right, pretty
so
much.
It should be okay.
And I am totally fine with that. Like I am totally fine being the creep of the group if it gets us to meet Dean Ambrose and have him listen to our podcast.
Well, you know
Don't
what?
knock the
Again,
hustle.
folks, I'm not I'm not knocking the hustle because we hustle here at the Last Mark Standing podcast. We hustle so much. We got a Patreon page.
Yes,
people are starting to contribute to said Patreon page. So if you go on a Patreon, search Last Mark Standing podcast, you'll see we have goals. Basically, the first goal we've set is $30 an episode. What that really does, it just shows us that you, me, and Michael LaPena, our producer, that people actually like what we have to say and they like our tweak on things. They like the way we focus on the big picture in pro wrestling and not just wins, losses, pushes, and the like. So again, patreon.com/lastmarkpodcast. You can donate $1. You can donate $5. People have donated $5. So shout out today to Mimi for her generous donation. It was a pleasant surprise to wake up to. Mimi's a very dedicated listener of the show. We love and adore you. So thank you for being one of our patrons. I greatly appreciate it. Unlike the people who are douches at wrestling shows and those who've been pestering me as to whether or not things are works or shoots. I've been getting really bothered by that recently over the last couple of days. My DMs have been filled with, Yo, D, you think that was a work or a shoot with Leslie and Randy Orton? Yo, D, you think that Daniel Bryan interview with The Miz was a shoot or was it a work? First off, I don't work for WWE, guys. I don't know. Okay, I appreciate
this is why I said that we're the wrestling elite. Like people value our opinion, and they go to us for knowledge.
And you were the one that texted me this morning. You were like, "Get used to that," because I'm not used to people asking me, for my opinion. So the first 2 people were okay, and then I had about 10 to 15 people who DM me, and I'm thinking, why do they want me to tell them? I don't work there. I don't work for WWE. So what would it matter if I think it was a work or a shoot? But
they want your insight.
I was going to say it's all about the insight, and it's all about the perspective that I'm willing to bring to the table. So I'm willing to have this conversation with Trina on air about works and shoots and why we care so much about works and shoots, because we briefly talked about this and we got into a very lengthy Twitter and texting discussion about this. I don't care if it's a work or a shoot. Me personally, I don't mind. I know you don't care. You want to enjoy the show because we're those wrestling fans that love the show. But I did a pros and cons thing in my head about why people care whether or not it's a work or a shoot. Okay. The reason I feel that people care about work or shoot is so they can have a side of the room to stand on. And if it turns out being right, they get to say, I told you so. That's part of it. Because, okay, let's take the Daniel Bryan Miz interview on Talking Smack. And for those that haven't watched it, during Talking Smack yesterday or on Tuesday, Daniel Bryan was talking to Randy Young, and Miz comes out and cuts this very impassioned promo, calling Daniel Bryan a coward because Daniel Bryan says Miz wrestles like a coward. And then Miz counters with, well, my cowardly style's got me a 10-year career with no major injuries, unlike you. So it came off as very passionate. It came off very shootish. But let's be honest here. WWE is not in the business of shoots. That doesn't help their bottom line. What helps their bottom line is work shoots, where you get a little bit of leeway to talk about your point of view. You get, like you said, improv. You get a base. You get a skeleton script of what you're going to talk about. It's sort of like this show. I always have my skeleton notes. I go through my skeleton notes, and then I go more and more into the conversation.
Right. We have an outline, but we don't know what we're going to say to each other on air.
Exactly.
Actually.
We don't talk that stuff out prior to being on air. So I could see that's what happened during the Miz promo, to the point where Daniel Bryan got a nerve hit. You can see in his face at some points he was a tad uncomfortable. Maybe it was about the whole bingo hall thing. Maybe it was about the whole, why don't you quit and go wrestle if you love it so much. So I turned around and I thought, because me being a therapist for so many years, wow, what if Daniel hasn't really worked any of this out? What if Bryan really on the surface has said he's worked this out, but in reality, Miz talking to him like that actually put him in a worse state. Because he talked about having a nervous breakdown, being away from the ring, and you know, the night he retired, he cried, he broke down backstage. You know, he couldn't do it. So when we talk about works and shoots, the thing I'm more interested in is if it's a quote unquote work shoot, how the other person who's taking it in a sense is handling it after the fact. Will there be lingering repercussions from this? Are they going to have some weird meltdown moment where they're thinking, yo, you went off script? A la Jericho, when backstage he goes off on Brock Lesnar, not knowing if it was a work or a shoot. But my problem with the people, again, my fellow humans, why do you care if something's a work or a shoot? Why does it matter? Aside from the fact that you want to be on the side that's right, so you could say you told you so. Again, tweet the show. At Damian, at the Marky Smart, at Last Mark Podcast. Why do you care whether or not something's a work or a shoot, and why do you need to know?
Right.
And I know you have your own feeling.
Well, and as you're talking about this, it goes back to the Roman Reigns episode, because like if there are people out there who believe that was a shoot, then why aren't people asking, is Daniel Bryan okay? You know what I mean? Like if we all believe that, like everybody was like, promo is life for Miz. Like, why isn't anyone standing up for Daniel Bryan and going like, yo, like that's, you know, like don't say things like that to somebody who we know has a history of dealing with this in a very emotional way. So that's one thing. So maybe we're asking the wrong questions here. You know, like why don't we care about these people enough that if we do believe that what they're doing is real, then why don't we show real concern? So that's one. And two, I presented this to non-fans because when the internet started blowing up about Miz and Daniel Bryan, I was like, I didn't watch it right away. I sent it to non-fans to see what their thoughts were. Because, you know, as wrestling fans, as people who podcast about wrestling and talk about wrestling and pretty much live, eat, breathe wrestling, the lines get blurred. And so sometimes when we have situations like this, I like to present it to a non-fan so that they can give us their unbiased opinion. And I think you do have people, like you said, who want to be proven right, and they like saying, I told you so. But I think it matters to people because they want to see the people performing care about it as much as they care about it. And I say this as a Twihard, as a big fan of Twilight, because, you know, like I went back to why was it so important? And this goes for other movies and other, you know, series, other comics and things like that, or other TV shows, like shippers. Like, why is it so important that the main leads, the two romantic leads, are in relationships in real life? You know, like for a lot of Twihards, it was really important that Robert Pattinson and Kristen Stewart were actually an item. And trust me, it's like, this is just a fandom thing. Like, it really is. Like maybe you're not in the right fandoms, but there are a lot of shows like that. There are a lot of shows, there's a lot of movies, there's a lot of books where people want to see the characters who portray them be in relationships in real life and sort of live the movie or live the story. And so I think that's what I related it to. So why is it important to some people that it's a work or a shoot, or why are they so curious whether this is real life? Because they want to know that these people have the same passion that we have as fans. Like, we want to believe that Daniel Bryan is so invested that he can't physically sit there and take Miz's words and he had to leave. And we want to believe that Miz feels so fired up about his career that he wouldn't stand for somebody, even Daniel Bryan, calling him a coward, because this is how deeply we feel about it. And so it's nice for us to see these characters, these performers, feel as deeply about it as we do.
Okay.
You know, and because that's what I went back to, because I'm, you know, and you've been around a lot of fandoms too. That's like what I likened it to, because if you go to like a Twilight convention, and I went to the very last one, and Robert Pattinson and Kristen Stewart were still dating. Like, it's super important to people that they were dating in real life. Like, if anything, it matters more than the story, because it mirrors their passion. You know, so it's like, if I'm crying about Ciampa Gargano, it's a good feeling to know that like Daniel Bryan and Miz can like feel the same passion that I Like I'm not the only one. And I feel connected to them as a person.
Not for nothing. Yeah, not for nothing. I really enjoyed the passion in which Miz, because you could tell a lot of it was he's been ribbed so much. He's been really traumatized a lot in his 10 years. I mean, when he first started, JBL was one of his biggest, what's the term? Hazers.
Yeah.
But he's been there 10 years for a reason. I mean, yeah, he's a great spokesman for the company. He does all the public speaking events. That's great. But Titus does the same thing, and Titus doesn't get pushed. And be careful, folks, because don't hit me with the race card on this one, because if you saw Titus's promo this past Monday, you understand why Titus doesn't get pushed like he's supposed to.
Yeah.
He can't speak with a live mic. That's bad.
That was a terrible promo.
Yeah, you gave Miz free reign on the promo. He ran with it. Yeah, he flubbed a couple of his lines, but because he was so passionate, it came off as authentic. Rather than you cut a promo where you flub your lines and it goes so far off of your character, mess up and it sounds disingenuous. But yeah, Daniel Bryan walking off kind of added another oomph to it, made it more of a mic drop moment. And then Miz going, don't walk away when I'm talking to you. I'm like, oh man, that's why I tweeted, this sounds like Jack Nicholson and A Few Good Men screaming, you want me on that wall, you need me on that wall, and you can't handle the truth. Like that's all I heard after a while, because it sounded that fierce and that passionate. Yeah. And I love it. I love, like I said, is all of you wanting everything to be a shoot. Like, why does it matter? Why do you?
Yeah, because
you don't control the show. You don't write the show. Like, what? Dude?
Because we want to feel like they're not just acting it out. That they're as invested and as involved as we are as fans.
But you and I are involved. We're invested. But we both come from the vein of just, it's all part of the show. And I give tons of credit to Andrew from Mad Men for this, calling it a Carney show. Before I met him and you, I never thought of it that way until he started talking about it on air. And then I started thinking, this is like one of those freak shows that gets people to come in and watch, and it's a traveling carnival. And you have, it appeals to a certain sector. Like certain shows appeal to certain sectors. I'm not the sports entertainment guy. I'm the Cruiserweight Classic guy. I'm the New Japan guy. I'm all about the Iron Man matches and the Last Man Standing matches that aren't overly brutal. I'm not the audience that WWE appeases to in that regard when it comes to Raw. But the whole blurring of the lines, like you said, you know what that does? That just builds intrigue. That brings in more money. That brings in more mainstream attention because it was led on SportsCenter. So people were showing Brock on SportsCenter lacing up Randy Orton with his elbows. So, okay, so if we're talking about shoots versus work, it's getting the attention of WWE that they want to get. It's like Total Divas. Yeah, we know it's scripted. Yeah, we know it's borderline trash, but it gets attention for the brand. I get it. But at the same token, people need to calm the F down. It's not that serious whether or not you need to know whether it's a shoot or a work. It's like my deepest, darkest secrets when it comes to broadcasting. You really think I want to sit here and tell you about the road it took for me to get here, or whether or not if I'm calling someone out on a broadcast, who it's about? I'm not going to tell you if I call someone out on a broadcast. How do you know it's not fun? How do you know it's not a pre-planned joke? I'm not going to tell you. Why? Because I want you to think about it. I don't want you to come up with I don't want you to come up with the idea that you know what's going on. I want you to come up with the idea for yourself and leave it open-ended for interpretation. Like indie movies. I love indie movies. I'm sorry, and I'll let you get your point in after this because I see you wanting to jump in here. Yeah. With indie movies, 9 out of 10 of them are open-ended endings. You're left to interpret it on your own. Did they fall in love? Did that person die? How did this movie really end? Like, what was that Leonardo DiCaprio movie? Inception. You don't really know what happened at the end of the movie. It's left for the audience to interpret it. And that's what I think about these works versus shoots. Leave it alone. Leave it up to interpretation. Enjoy the freaking show. And I think that's been my whole rant this whole episode is why do we not just enjoy the show? Why do we have to act as if we're the ones behind the curtain pulling the strings?
Yeah, I think this goes back to you being the logical, the thinker, the like the one that looks at things without feeling. Because it's you know, like, because that's the thing. It's like, I think they're two different things. Like you have fans who try and hijack the show and put themselves over and make it about them. But I think the people who are genuinely curious about works and shoots, it's a feeling thing. You know what I mean? They're not trying to get behind the curtain. I think they're trying to figure out whether what they saw was real or not. And whether the feelings that they had for that scene were valid. You know what I mean? Because it's like, you know, we talked about this. To you or to some people, it's ridiculous to cry over a match. It's ridiculous to cry over wrestling. And so it's moments like The Miz and Daniel Bryan that justify those moments. You know, it's like that make me feel like that it's totally okay for me to cry, you know, when you know, like Ciampa and Gargano put on a great match, or Cedric Alexander tears up looking at the crowd. I mean, you know, like I want to feel that connection with the wrestlers, that they have the same type of feelings that I do. You know, like that they're as passionate about all of this as I am. I mean, I get your point of view, but I think it's just, you are always the thinker. You always want to know why. You want to know the logical reason. I look at things, I feel things, you know, like I think you're looking at people asking whether it's a work or a shoot, as them, you know, just thinking too much about it. But I think the reality is they're feeling too much about it. And that's why they're asking, and that's why they're curious, because they don't know, like there's no way for them to know. And so they reach out to someone like you because they trust your opinion about it, and they trust your knowledge about wrestling, to validate like how they feel, you know? So it's like, it sucks, you know, because let me tell you, the definitive word on both Brock and Randy and Miz and Daniel Bryan was that it is a work. It's a worked shoot. I mean, I think both in both instances they were given an outline of what was to be done, and there was an element of improvisation that maybe got out of hand, and that's where you're getting that sort of shoot feel to the situation. But at the end of the day, like, this stuff is all scripted, and I think, you know, like that's what you need to use to like bring yourself back down to earth, you know, like take that answer and just know that, yes, these people are as passionate about the business and wrestling as you are. But know that this is also their job. And like, you know, like sometimes you're an actor and you have to like fall in love with somebody. And sometimes it happens in real life and sometimes it doesn't. So it's just, you know, like we're all humans with feelings. But I think just be skeptical. I think like the middle ground to reach here is that be skeptical, be logical about stuff, you know, just take a little bit of Damian, take a little bit of me, you know, like definitely still feel things and like, want to relate to other people's feelings. But, you know, take yourself out of the situation once in a while and just think logically and be like, everything is a work at the end of the day. Everything is a work.
Essentially, life is one big work.
Yeah. I mean, that, you know, that's the thing. You guys know, you've listened to us long enough to know that Damian just went off about not wanting to share these things about his life, but you guys have been there when he has.
Right.
When we've just improvised and talked to each other, and suddenly he is telling us the details about his childhood and the details about the struggles that he grew up with. Mm-hmm. So it's like, you know, just respect that. You know, like these guys are trying to do like the best that they can to perform, and every once in a while their real life will slip out. And so we just take it for what it is, and don't try and pry and don't try and make it a bigger deal than it already is.
Yeah. Take it for what it is, and just try not to always go too deep, because in reality there's not much depth to certain things, but we're trying to find it anyway.
Yeah.
And I think that's part of what you're trying to get at, is just take things for what they are. We don't have to always find out the answer to every little secondary thing, especially in the grand scheme. It means nothing. Mm-hmm. If all it is just for you to point at me and say, I told you so, I told you it was a work, do you really feel that much better about yourself?
Right.
Think about that. I want the listeners to really think about that. The next time they go to an event and they want to chant and they want to scream and they want to be negative toward the product, but in a non-constructive way. I want fans to think about, I want listeners to think about whether or not it really matters whether or not something's a work or a shoot, or how about this? How about just think of it as entertaining? It's entertaining. Because I'm going to go back to my example with medieval times. At the end of the day, no matter who the Black Knight kills, no matter which one of the colors wins, I'm still going to get fed. I'm still going to get my big chalice of beer and booze. I'm going to wear my dorky-ass crown, and I'm going to have a good old time. That's it. And I'm going to lose my voice. That's it.
I mean, you know, I think as you're saying this, I think like the bottom line is that there's a time and a place for stuff, you know, and it's like channel your energies in more productive ways. You know, like if you really do have strong opinions about the way Roman Reigns wrestles or the way Nikki Bella wrestles or the way that WWE books certain things, then you start a podcast. You know, you start writing articles about it. You know, there are plenty of wrestling sites out there that are looking for writers, that are looking for people to give their opinion. We have an unprecedented amount of ways to give our wrestling opinion compared to the way it was when Damian and I were growing up. You pretty much only had your friends, you had some chat rooms and things like that. But now we have a million mediums: podcasting, broadcasting, writing, blogging, Tumblr-ing. I mean, like you can make your opinion known in other ways that isn't detrimental to the product or the enjoyment of other fans. You know, like just don't be a jagoff.
That's a nice way to say it. You're jagoff.
Yeah, like be respectful of other people, and yeah, think about the kids. Like legit. Like if you had a kid there, like would you want some asshole adult ruining the experience for your child?
But then you know what? That actually builds up another question about age and about environment to age. We have career guy versus job guy. We have college bro versus mature person, you know, things like that. So it's a different sector of people. Because I can guarantee you the vast majority of the people chanting negative stuff were the bro type.
Right.
Guaranteed.
And thank God. And hopefully they weren't procreating. So then maybe they didn't have any kids.
Well, not there. Hopefully they weren't procreating there.
No, but you, really weird place. Sometimes you look at people and you're like, I really hope you don't create another version of yourself because the world doesn't need that.
I hope NXT belt guy doesn't do that.
Right, exactly. So, I mean, that's the thing. Like, I know that there are people that aren't going to get that, you know, that they aren't going to get my thing about like, think about the kids or whatever. Fine. There are people that are just going to continue to be jackasses and ruin the experience. So then again, I think that goes back to the wrestling internet elite, the people that do get asked about their opinions, the people that do have a platform to speak their opinions and get heard to correct this. And, you know, and be like, guys, like, this is not the way to be a fan.
Yeah. I mean, like you said before we get out of here, let's just reaffirm the fact that it's okay to be passionate. It's okay to have an opinion because we all got one no matter which way we slice the banana. But at the same time, be respectful in the fact that there are people who don't agree with what you're feeling. And you don't have to constantly beat people over the head with your chants, with your F you Izzies, you know. Is it a work or a shoot? Right. Oh, I know for a fact it was a work. No, you don't. You weren't there. You weren't in gorilla position. You weren't in the meetings. Shut up. Just enjoy the show like the rest of us and have an opinion and have a feeling. And if you have a podcast, feel free to invite us on to engage us in verbal battle.
Oh, yeah, totally. Damian and I will definitely do that for sure. I mean, that's the thing. There's so many outlets now. Don't ruin the experience for people because there are so many. I mean, I even did it in a Facebook post. You know, some of the episodes that we did before where we were taking to task the Fox Sports reporter, that started as a Facebook post.
Oh yeah, I did.
There are discussion boards. You know, Madman has a huge discussion board. WrestleZone has a huge discussion board. There are a million places for you to sound off on your displeasure for the product or whatever is going on in the world of wrestling. Don't be a dick and ruin the experience, the live experience for everybody else.
I love it. I love the fact that the bottom line here is don't be a dick.
Don't be a dick. That's good advice in life and in wrestling fandom.
That's the best advice in life you can get, is just don't be a dick to people. Do unto others as even have them do unto you. So if you want to be a dick, be prepared to be dicked on. And I'm not pausing that one. I meant it just like that.
Right.
Be prepared to be dicked on or douched on, because if you've seen Sausage Party, you know what I mean by being douched on. Right? Well, again, you could tweet the show at Last Mark Podcast, at Dare to Be Damien, at the Marky Smark. You can visit our Patreon page. Again, we're not asking for a lot. We have full-time gigs. Me, myself, Trina, Mikey. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. Anyone who's contributed, like I said, Mimi this morning gave a monthly donation, so we're very grateful for that. Patreon.com/lastmarkstanding. Again, tweet the show. Let us know what you think. Are we off base? Are we cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs? Are we being dicks? Are we being douchebags toward those?
You want to fight me? Come at me, bro.
Don't come at me, bro. All right, let's not. But if you want
don't come at Damian, but totally come at me.
I'm supposedly the pacifist of the group, but in reality, I'm not. I just don't like to fight people because I had a rough childhood and I have a temper, and I don't want that part of me to come back out anymore.
Could we tell really quick the story about the dream that you had?
The one we went to wrestling school?
Yeah, Damian had a dream that he and I both went to wrestling school together, and I bullied everybody in the school, including the instructors, and I was pretty much the mean girl. And my only
you were mean to everyone.
Yeah, I was mean to everyone. I was mean to the other wrestlers, the other students, the instructors, and I pretty much answered Damian with like, sounds about right. So if you are going to be a dick at a wrestling event where I am attending, I will call you out on it, and I am willing to fight you on it. So please stop being a dick. And really quick, thank you to Mimi. I wanted to say also, she from time to time guests on Wrestle Worldcast and OK Fabe. So those are two places that you can find Mimi as well. So she's a big supporter, and I just
blacked out. Say it again.
OK Fabe and Wrestle Worldcast.
Okay, yeah, this time I got it. Good.
You can find her there. She's a big supporter of us, and we want to support her as much as we can.
Right. And on Twitter, she's I am Mimi Shells, CHELLES. She's amazing. She's one of our good friends, I could say, like a good Twitter friend to us, and always supports our show. Shout out to the Masked Fan. I appreciate his insights daily. He always gives me something to ponder in life as well as in wrestling. Big Money Drew. I'm going to be in the same room with you eventually one of these days, my friend. I promise you. We will wind up being in the same room. Again, shout out to Matt Men. Shout out to Heel Town, USA. Andrew Zarian for being wonderful. I got to meet BTC Rich this week and Intern Deacon at the SummerSlam party, so that was cool. I love you all. Thank you again for listening. We will again be back next week. We might start doing review shows, so be on the lookout for that. We've kind of played with the thought of doing maybe a half-an-hour review show of SmackDown and or Raw after the shows. So we'll play with that. Let us know again. Tweet the show at Last Mark Podcast, at Dare to Be Damien, and at the Marky Smark. So we'll see you next week, guys.
We love you guys. Don't be dicks.
Too sweet.
Stop live. Stop being